live?
Yes, we're live.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Welcome everyone here and online to the Sunday gathering at the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center. I was eating breakfast at 9 o'clock before I remembered that this is Resurrection Day. And it turns out that the section we're going to cover today is at least related to that. Where we're going to be today is in the text, chapter 26, section 3, called the Borderland. It's the same chapter, section, and even title in both Foundation for Inner Peace version as well as the Circle of Atonement version of the course. But before we go there, I want to follow up on something that I said a couple weeks ago. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and is related. So the borderland is code, if you will, for the real world. And the real world is, the course teaches us, is what we will experience before we actually return our full awareness to the truth, to knowledge, to love's eternal presence as us. And a couple weeks ago, I mentioned a book that I had read, it turns out 10 years ago, just about 10 years ago at this time, called Life in the World Unseen by a guy named Anthony Borgia. This is another channeled work, in this case channeled from, I believe, an Episcopal priest who had made his transition and was given permission, if you will, to communicate to one of his proteges. And I guess Anthony or whoever, maybe, I don't know the exact relationship right now, but it was essentially, became a scribe, analogous to what Helen's role was with Jesus in scribing the course. So I'm making the interpretation that this world that's described in the book, Life in the World Unseen, is same as what the course calls the real world. That's my interpretation. So what is this real world like? Because the course, we're going to talk about that to some degree today, and the course has a section called the real world where it does give some description about it, but my recollection is it's fairly limited. So I'm going to share what this guy on the other side, part of his experience.
Someone who would know.
Someone who would know. We have the most glorious flowers here. Some of them like the old familiar cherished blooms of the earth plane, others known only to the spirit world, but all alike are superb, the perpetual joy of all of us who are surrounded by them. They are divine creations, each single flower breathing the pure air of spirit, and upheld by their Creator and by all of us here in the love that we shower upon them. Had we no wish for them, an impossible supposition, they would be swept away. And what should we have in their stead, where otherwise would the great wealth of color come from, which the flowers provide? And it is not only the smaller growing flowers that we have here. There is no single flowering shrub, tree or shrub that the mind can recall that we do not possess, flourishing in superabundance and perfection, as well as those trees and shrubs that are seen nowhere else but in the spirit world. They are always in bloom. They never fade or die. Their perfumes are diffused into the air where they act like a spiritual tonic upon us all. They are at one with us as we are with them.
Beautiful. That's Gorgeous.
When we are first introduced to the flowers and trees and all the luxuriance of the spirit nature, we instantly perceive something that earthly nature never seemed to possess. And that is an inherent intelligence within all growing things. Earthly flowers, though living, make no immediate personal response when one comes into close touch with them. But here it is vastly different. Spirit flowers are imperishable, and that should at once suggest more than that mere life is within them. And spirit flowers, as well as all other forms of nature, are created by the great Father of the universe through his agents in the realms of spirit. They are part of the immense stream of life that flows directly from him and that flows through every species of botanic growth. That stream never ceases, never falters, and is moreover continuously fed by the admiration and love which we in this spirit world gratefully shed upon such choice gifts of the Father. Is it then to be wondered at when we take the tiniest blossom within our hands that we should feel such an influx of magnetic power, such a revivifying force, such an upliftment of one's very being, that we know in truth that those forces for our betterment are currently coming from the source of all good. There is no other meaning behind our spirit flowers than the expressed beauty of the Father of the universe. And surely that is enough. He has attached no strange symbolism to his faultless creations. Why should we?
That's beautiful. I definitely want to read that book.
I highly encourage it.
Yeah.
I'm going to reread it.
Yeah. Do you have a hard copy or is it online?
I have, my version is, I got from online. It's available, there's a PDF available free online, but it is also available as at least a paperback online as well. In fact, Julie showed me her copy
Yeah, she said she got it in a day.
last week, so it's definitely available.
Okay, good. My kind of book.
Yeah, and in that vein, I'm going to skip ahead just briefly to the next section of the Course in Miracles, because there's a clear linkage here. Yes?
Could I have you say where we are, because you just went live a minute ago, people may not have caught that.
Okay, so today we are in the text, chapter 26, section 3, called the Borderland. Same section and title in both the Foundation for Inner Peace version as well as the Circle of Atonement version of the Course. So the Borderland. I'm going to momentarily skip ahead one section and read this paragraph. You don't need to follow right now, just listen. Forgiveness turns the world of sin into a world of glory, wonderful to see. Each flower shines in light, every bird sings the joy of heaven. There is no sadness and there is no parting here, for everything is totally forgiven, and what has been forgiven must join, for nothing stands between to keep them separate and apart. Which sounds to me a lot like what I just read from the other book.
Sure does.
So I don't think there's any coinkydink there that I found those in the last couple of days. So, chapter 26, section 3, the Borderland. Did you all find that? And if anybody needs a book, we've got at least one more copy up here. So, the Borderland. Complexity is not of God. How could complexity be when all he knows is one? God knows of one creation, one reality, one truth, and but one Son. And nothing conflicts with oneness. How then could there be complexity in him? What is there to decide? For it is conflict that makes choice complex. So we can take that first sentence and probably substitute the word conflict with complexity. Conflict is not of God. It continues, the truth is simple. It is one without an opposite, which is a reflection of the introduction to the course. But what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. And how could strife enter its simple presence, the truth's simple presence, and bring complexity where oneness is? The truth makes no decisions, for there is nothing to decide between. And if there were, could choosing be and only if there were, could choosing be a necessary step in the advance towards oneness. What is everything leaves room for nothing else. So I hear multiple reflections of course ideas in that paragraph. If God is the author of creation, means he is the creator of everything that is in truth, and outside of that there is nothing.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Simple.
They're extremely simple. There's just one. Just one.
And that, to me, especially in reading like the section that I read from the Life in the World Unseen, the description of the vast variety of flowers, that does not mean there is not space for individuation.
Exactly. Right. A variety
A
of expressions.
variety of expression,
Of the oneness.
but of the oneness.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Those ideas are not mutually exclusive, which is an error that I think many course students make at some point in time.
Right.
My initial idea of oneness that I got from the course was, well, this kind of sounds kind of boring.
Yeah, it sounds like nobody has any unique anything.
Exactly.
And that's not the case at all.
But I've become convinced as I've learned more and more that this is not the case.
Right.
So my understanding of the idea of oneness has expanded
Yes.
as I've learned more.
And it will
Oneness
continue.
expands and expands. and
Exactly.
expands.
Yes.
Like I said, as it will continue to do.
Darlene, just so you know, we're in chapter 26, section 3, the borderland. And for anyone that's just joining online or coming in the door now, and there's another book up here. And I'm just getting ready to start the second paragraph, or at least the second paragraph in the Circle of Atonement edition. So what is everything leaves room for nothing else? Yet is this magnitude beyond the scope of this curriculum, nor is it necessary we dwell upon anything that cannot be immediately grasped. Once again, he's trying to remind us of the practicality of the course. There is a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. I like the idea that he's couching this in a borderland of thought, because once again, is what this is leading to. It's about a shift in our perceptions.
That's right. Right. I like that. It happens within your own mind.
It's all happening within our minds. There is a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. It is not a place, and when you reach it, it is apart from time. Yet here is the meeting place where thoughts are brought together, where conflicting values meet, and all illusions are laid down beside truth, where they are judged to be untrue.
Wow. It's like a reconciliation. Yeah.
Mhm.
A recycling plant.
And what did you say?
A repurposing plant,
Clarify.
which often is what recycling does. This borderland, remember this borderland of thought is just before the gate of heaven. Here is every thought made pure and wholly simple. Here is sin denied and everything that is received instead.
Wow.
That's a pretty deep statement.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds like an awesome state of mind.
We're getting pancakes with that.
I'm sure they're available if you wish.
Whatever you want.
With maple syrup.
Yeah, with blueberries or maple syrup or whatever you want.
That's a,
And
See, doesn't that make you want to go to heaven?
Mhm.
The real
yes,
world.
Carla.
that's a really, that last statement is really deep if you just stop into it. Here is sin denied, and everything that is received instead. It really of course it says sin isn't real.
Mhm.
That's the first thing it says.
Right?
But then, step before where it talks about being holy with the letter W.
Mhm.
All, right? And I think a lot of times I don't realize how much my still belief in sin, even though I would love to say I don't believe in sin, I know my actions say otherwise, keep me from having all that is,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right? And that one sentence there says, let sin be laid aside and you have everything that is.
Yeah.
And let's drill down one step further and remind ourselves that the course, our teacher defines sin as a lack of love.
Right. Thank you.
That here is lack of love denied.
Mhm.
Separation.
That's right.
Here is separation denied. He's giving us an example of the right use of denial.
Mhm.
Denial is one of the psychological defenses that we use is inherently a double-edged sword, because we can choose what we deny.
Right.
We can deny the truth, or we can deny illusions.
Right. Mhm. Right.
Once again, we're being taught the proper use of defenses,
Mhm. And denial.
denial being one of them.
Being one of them.
I'm just thinking what you said about everybody, doesn't that make you want to go to heaven?
Yeah.
There's kind of a country music song for everything.
Right.
There's one that says, everybody wants to go to heaven, just nobody wants to go right now.
Right, but of course, the Miracles is saying you can. It's called the real world.
That's right here.
It's called the real world.
Yeah.
And all you gotta do is deny sin.
Deny separation, deny the lack of love, and you got it all.
Hey man, you have it right now.
So I could live in denial and be happy?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Since we love denial, we so love denial.
You can be in denial and be joyful.
That way you can be right and happy.
It's the only way you can be right and happy.
Finally. Oh my God.
Something I've been wanting to be all my life.
I've always wanted to be right and happy. Here's a way to finally do that.
There's another song in there.
There's another song in there.
Before long, Darlene's gonna break out in country music.
Totally.
There you go.
We'll be your line dancers.
Yeah, you got it.
This, meaning this borderland, is the journey's end, meaning our journey's end as students of this curriculum. We have referred to it as the real world. And yet, there is a contradiction here, and that those words imply a limited reality, a partial truth, a segment of the universe made true. This seeming contradiction is because knowledge makes no attack on perception. They are brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Salvation is a borderland where place and time and choice have meaning still, and yet it can be seen that place and time and choice are temporary, out of place, and every choice has already been made.
That's the real world.
That's
a
the
great
real
description
world.
of the real world.
So, what I've been seeing in reviewing this material is that the Course really made me feel like I'm still in kindergarten. That
Every time I read it.
that we're just being told the very, very basic steps of how to get to this point where we realize that all the things I've been worried about, all the decisions I've been trying to make, it's just like rearranging the chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah, right.
There's really only one choice to make.
Right.
Do I keep shoveling coal in the boiler, or do I get in the life raft?
Right.
Or do I help others get in the life raft? Or do I keep shoveling coal to keep the lights on so that others can get to the life raft? But,
Keep going down.
That's-
aligning the chandelier and all of that other stuff just, doesn't really matter. But when our minds are in this borderland of perception, I'm inferring from this that the decision-making process is becoming much, much clearer.
Right. Much simpler.
Much, much simpler.
Much simpler.
Because we're now denying sin. We're now denying separation, and we've reached the point where it's just much easier to make the only choices that we really can make if we want to proceed through the gate to our true state,
Right. Home.
to align our awareness with the truth of what we are.
So that joy is, that joy. I'm apparently stuck on the word joy at the moment, that's okay. That is then the choice between separation or oneness, and results of oneness, which is the everything.
Mm-hmm.
Simple but not easy choice.
Right.
Exactly.
Very,
At
very
least not
simple.
easy yet.
Right, exactly.
Getting easier.
But I'm inferring that once we have made it across, there's the Course talks about the bridge to the real world. We are all, I'm going to make the bold statement that we are all,
We are.
if we're interested in this material and learning this material, we are on the
We're
bridge
on the bridge.
to the real world
On
already.
the bridge.
That's good news.
It is good news. That's the good news. We're on the bridge.
Thank you for passing that on.
Yeah,
Some days I feel
just in
like
case
I'm
you were
under-
wondering.
Well, yes, and sometimes, some days I feel like I'm running back to the other side, retreating into darkness once again.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the troll under the bridge.
Exactly.
Turbulent waters coming up over the bridge.
Exactly,
Yeah.
drowning.
Yeah, I'm awake now, you better
Drowning
feed
in
me.
sin.
Yeah.
Truth and illusions, they are brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Salvation is a borderland where time and place and choice have meaning still, and yet it can be seen that they are temporary, out of place, and every choice has been already made.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Nothing the children of God believe can be destroyed. But what is truth to us must be brought to the last comparison that we will ever make, the last evaluation that will be possible, the final judgment upon this world. What is that? It is the judgment of the truth upon illusion, of knowledge on perception. Meaning that perception has no meaning and does not exist. This is not your decision. It is but a simple statement of fact. Glad that he's clarifying that.
That's right.
It's not, he's trying to underscore here, I believe, that I am not the author of my reality. I really don't have a choice in that. Only in illusions
That's right.
can I pretend, only in a make-believe world can I pretend that I can be other than I was created to be and set the direction of my evolution as I see fit.
Right. And in the real world is where you actually choose truth,
Exactly.
you know, in the real world. So it's still an illusion. Choice is an illusion, but it's
And we
at
get
least
to
you're
that-
choosing for truth.
And we get to that point
Yeah.
because he makes the statement that it's not really a choice at
Right.
all. We really don't have a choice
Right,
but to align with God's will in truth.
exactly.
Because truth is the same for all of us.
The truth is true regardless
Right.
of our individuation.
It's just
We're
what you're,
creative in my
It's just-
illusions though.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes.
And the illusion is the illusion of choice, you know,
Choice is an illusion is
Right.
what I think.
yes.
It
choice.
is the statement that comes up here in a little bit. Choice is an illusion.
Right,
But you can always choose the illusion.
right,
And the reason you're choosing the illusion is because you'd rather keep your guilt about what you're out picturing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's happening that you think that is causing you suffering, you have to admit that you brought the suffering to yourself. You brought that choice to yourself, right?
Ultimately, we have to make that decision
That's
if we
right.
want
So
to get
it is a
all the way
choice.
across the
that's
bridge.
the right choice.
It's always a choice to choose between illusion and the truth.
Yep.
Of the holy instant.
And this is part of our practice in being students of a course and doing the workbook lessons. It is part of the practice
Yeah.
in learning to separate illusion from truth.
Yep.
And it's only while we think that we really have that choice that we need this practice. What I'm getting from this is that once we've crossed the bridge to the real world, again, we're so practiced in discerning illusion from truth that the last choices we seem to have to make are relatively easy, is what I'm inferring from this material.
I see it that, what's cool about how Creator did salvation is we created something, and part of that creation is the belief in making choices, which aren't really choices at all to be made, but because we made a world of choices, of differences and all that, Creator uses that to bring us back out of
Mm-hmm.
what we created. Okay, since you live in the world of choice, make the choice to follow Spirit.
Right.
Use that power.
And that's what the
Yeah.
turning, what I interpret as the turning of your cheek, turning the other cheek. You know, the Christian interpretation of that, it's different. But in the Course in Miracles, it's, you can always choose a different, you're turning away from your illusion.
Mm-hmm. And as the section in chapter 31, choose once again, summarizes all of that.
That's right.
As long as we believe we're in this world presented with many, many choices, to pick up on Greg's point, this course is bringing us to the point of having a well-practiced discernment between illusions and the truth, between dark and lightness, and
making
teaching us that choosing one leads to pain
right, that's right.
and one leads to joy.
That's it, right there. That's it.
It's just like living in a world of forgiveness. In reality, forgiveness is,
Unnecessary.
it's just not even anything, it's not even something that anybody would know about.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
But,
If we were the.
but again,
Yep.
because of the world we created, God didn't come down and go, I'm gonna destroy y'all because you're acting like a bunch of fools. He just said, okay, we'll take forgiveness, we'll work with that, and we're gonna use that, since you made a world that seems to need forgiveness.
I think of forgiveness as you're giving forth your illusions. You're giving, give
Yes,
forth.
right.
You're
Yes.
giving forth your illusion that anything bad or suffering that's happening to you is because you've been, I love that, beware, there's a line in there about beware the ego that says you've been unfairly treated. Because you immediately go into victim, I'm a victim, the world out there is doing all these bad things to me. And you have to, it's hard, a lot of people don't wanna hear, no, you actually brought all that to yourself. And that's what you have to give forth.
Mhm.
You have to say, I'm gonna stop perceiving the world as dangerous, as unfair, because that's what I'm attracting. That's what I'm attracting. So, and it's hard because the world's, Easter is all about forgiveness, right? Forgiveness and compassion. And you have to really think, the forgiveness, you first have to forgive yourself. That you've attracted these things to yourself that you'd rather not be there. And that's a hard one because the world is, it's like we're doing this in here, but the world out there, it's completely turned upside down. You know, it's really tough because you're like, oh, everyone's talking about for Christ being crucified and, that he's forgiving them. But he's not. If they have to forgive themselves because that was in them that crucified him, right?
And yet the more typical, much more common means of forgiving ourselves is by forgiving others. I mean, that is what
Yes.
I experience day in and day out.
Yes, but you first have to forgive yourself. You can't forgive somebody else until you.
That's
forgive
sort of a
yourself.
chicken and egg thing
It really is, because
in
the
my
course
in my
plays it
mind.
both ways.
Plays it both ways.
Yeah, of course, takes it both ways. So
You're
whatever's
right.
easier in the moment. If it's easier to forgive yourself in the moment, go for that.
Okay.
If it's easier to forgive them, go for that.
Yep.
Because the
Yep.
course does say that that's the tool, right? In me forgiving Matt
Right.
for something
You're
so
right.
egregious,
Right.
I then see that I could also forgive myself for
Right.
that being there.
Exactly.
I'm sure it was so
Exactly.
egregious.
Exactly.
So,
Which is not easy. That's the line, God is the strength in which I forgive you.
that's right.
That is the one
Don't
that
forget that.
I go, really? I have to
Mhm.
forgive you?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Right? It's
Yeah.
like God, okay, God is the strength.
And that is a very useful tool to have in one's
Absolutely.
miracle toolkit.
Don't use your strength to do it.
We still in paragraph 4, I lost place.
I'm just revisiting that myself.
My Kindle went for a journey.
I think we're halfway through paragraph 4. This is not your decision. But it is but a simple statement of fact. But in this world, there are no simple facts. Because what is the same and what is different remains unclear.
Right.
The one essential thing to make a choice at all is this distinction. And herein lies the difference between the worlds. In this one, choice is made impossible. In the real world is choosing simplified.
Right. You're choosing between what's real and what's false. That's it.
And that's why I said earlier, in the human realm of experiences, at best we're practicing this.
Right.
We're practicing making this, tuning our discernment capabilities to discerning what is true, what is one from what is nothing or different.
Right. One of my favorite comments these days is, if it ain't loving, it ain't true. You know, if it ain't, so.
I like
How
that.
to distinguish between what's real and what's false, you know? Because if you don't know what's real and what's false, you can't really make that choice. And now choice seems so complicated.
Yep.
But if it ain't loving, it ain't true.
Well, which is an adaptation, I'm inferring, of chapter 12, where the judgment of the Holy
Yes,
Spirit.
Right, exactly. That's right.
Where the Holy Spirit's judgment is always the same. Every loving thought is true, everything else is a call for healing and help.
So I'm always looking for tools, and this is a great tool. Of course, throughout the course, we're taught to ask, how could I see this differently, right? And so the simple question is, I'm seeing this complexity. How can I see it simply?
That's right.
Yep.
That's good.
You know, that's a tool, good tool, right? There's a simple truth here. How can I see it simply?
Yep.
Because I'd like to get stuck in my complexity.
Oh yeah, it's a hamster wheel.
Totally.
Trying to figure out all the right decision in a matrix of complexities
Exactly.
and
Where it seems
conflicting.
like all choices are available, that's very
Yeah.
confusing.
Yes.
You know, when a crossroads or a decision has to be made, like the first like spontaneous thought, like it's generally like the pure thought, whether that's tied to the universe or the greater, whatever you want to call it. And then my head gets into it and I start rationalizing and making charts. And as I rely on this instinct or gut feeling that's in alignment, it's only always right. And trying to rely on that, like, oh, that's the answer came immediately, but then I just went way off to Paris here in my head. And using all this extra information that it's never beneficial.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, you know, when we kind of go down this path, we're like, just follow that.
Yeah.
And then people are like, how'd you make that end up here? I'm like, you know, all the doors that were supposed to close, closed, and all the ones that were supposed to open, opened.
How simple.
I didn't have a lot to do with it.
Which is also an important lesson that I have, that I, in my tendency to be very impatient, have struggled to make, in that sometimes it's just not the right time to make the decision. You can be aware the decision is forthcoming, that there's an event horizon out there where a decision will have to be made, but putting myself under the pressure to try to make that decision now without knowing the big arc of everything that's got to fall into place, is asking this body-mind system to do something it's not equipped to do.
Absolutely.
And so the pair of words has been in my awareness for a few days. Trust versus control. And the music I was playing before class is those two words she mentions multiple times in that song. 10K times better than I expected. That she talks about, I'm learning to trust rather than control, give up control. And what you mentioned speaks as an example of exactly that.
This is like the metaphor that life is like a river, and you can struggle to go upstream. You can try to get to where you want to get to up there, but you're going to go much more smoothly, much more easily, gracefully. Just go with the flow downstream, and if there's an obstacle in the way, you'll just kind of ease around it. And then the clincher is that there's actually nothing that I want upstream. Even when I get there, even when I get what I think I wanted, that's not it. It's just I go with the flow of God.
I also, I think of control kind of comes from fear.
Mm-hmm.
In the fear acronym of false evidence appearing real, that's why you control, is because you think it will protect you somehow. You can just fix it, you can just do everything, and you'll be okay. And that's what keeps you a prisoner. But it's a tough one though, because you really, you see stuff out there and you see something happen, you feel that tightening, like, oh, I have to fix and try to control this thing. That's a hard one.
A recent rephrase of that acronym I read was, forget everything and react. That you forget everything, you just react. That's what fear causes us to do.
Yep,
Forget everything.
exactly.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yep. When what we're really being asked to do is how do we respond?
Yes.
But you can't see that when I cannot see that when I am in a state of fear and panic.
Yep.
Yeah, I forget what love's telling me when I'm in fear.
And I'm very likely to attack. If not someone else, myself. So, and herein lies the difference between the worlds. In this world, choice is made impossible by all of the complexities. And in the real world is choosing simplified. Salvation stops just short of heaven. For only perception needs salvation. On the other hand, heaven was never lost, so cannot be saved. Yet who can make a choice between the wish for heaven and the wish for hell unless he recognizes they are not the same? This difference is the learning goal this course has set. The way I got to this section this week was I kept running across statements of the goal of this course is da 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 da. The learning outcome, the learning intention for this course is such and such. And so I did a Google, I searched the text for those ideas, and I came up with literally a dozen places where the course refers to the purpose or the goal or the intention for the course. And this is the one that I chose to focus on today. Some of the other ones are, the purpose of this course is integration. You don't actually find that in the Foundation for Inner Peace version, but as part of Miracle Principle 50 in
The
the original edition.
Dictation.
The purpose of the course is integration, which means wholeness, becoming whole,
Not split, not
which
split.
means, and whole means holy.
That's right. Love that.
Some other ones, to learn what you are. And another one is to teach that the ego is unbelievable and will forever be unbelievable. And most centrally, this is a course in how to know yourself, as in your capital S self. And here he's bringing up the point that the course's purpose is to teach that what is the same and what is different, leaving room to make the only choice which can be made by learning to distinguish between heaven and hell. And do I wish to linger in hell any longer, or do I wish to move towards heaven? Do I wish to get to the borderland, cross the bridge and get to the borderland so that ultimately I can return my awareness to who and what I really am, and return my mental ability, my mind abilities, if you will, from reparation to reparation and healing to creating, which is what we're told will happen when we really know who we are, when we remember who we are.
So even though choice is an illusion, choice is the device by which we are going to progress forward to the real world and then on back home.
Exactly, because once again, this is the Holy Spirit repurposing
An illusion,
an illusion.
yeah.
That choices are illusions, but he's repurposing it to lead us out of the darkness rather than deeper into it.
Right. Beautiful.
But I think that is a very, very important reminder of what the goal of the course is. A choice between the wish for heaven and the wish for hell. This difference is the learning goal this course is set. This course will not go beyond this aim. The course's only purpose is to teach what is the same and what is different, leaving room to make the only choice which can be made. There is no basis for a choice in this complex and overcomplicated world, for no one understands what is the same and seems to choose where no choice really is. The real world is the area of choice made real. The real world is the area of choice made real. Not in outcome, but in the perception of alternatives for choice. So in the real world, presumably my discernment between what's going to cause me pain and what's going to cause me joy, the difference between dark and light, between heaven and hell, has become so finely tuned that I now have a real perceptive basis to make good choices,
A real
right choices, a real choice.
A real choice. Because if I'm just choosing between forms of nothingness, that's not a real choice, you know.
And thank you for saying that, because the perception of alternatives for choice, one of the things we're learning to do is to make our choices based on content rather than on form.
Yes, that's a real choice.
And in my experience, that is something I still need a lot of practice with, because I'm still pretty much tuned into seeing form for example, in other people's behavior, and making my determination very quickly what this means, rather than looking at the content, which, if I was actually using the discernment of the Holy Spirit, is this love or a call for love? And if it's a call for love, then I have some other choices that I could be making. So here's that statement that we talked about earlier, that there is choice is an illusion. Yet within this one within this one choice, between heaven and hell, within this one choice lies the undoing of every illusion, not accepting this. Is not this like your special function, where the separation is undone by the change of purpose in what was once specialness and is now union? He's making a referral to all of the discussion about elsewhere in the course about our special function, and drawing a parallel between fine-tuning our discernment of what our real choices are, the choices that'll lead us out of darkness rather than further into the darkness, with accepting our special function. And if you need a reminder, that's where we're gonna end up today.
Nice.
All right, we're gonna do a guided meditation based on lesson 98.
Awesome. And I like hearing that it's like, okay, so the only choice to make here is like, am I different and special, or are we one? It's like,
Mhm.
that's the only choice to make in each situation, you know. Am I special? Am I different than them?
Mhm.
Or am I one with them?
And that's a real choice in any situation, whether you're a healer or a teacher or just dealing with family and friends or whoever you run into in the world.
All relationships, all situations.
I think of my son, he was like 8, he's now 24, or maybe he was 10 when I was studying this really intently. And I was talking to him about specialness. And I wrote it down somewhere, and I read it like in the journal, but he basically, wisdom, he said, well, we're all special. And because we're all special, then that means none of us are special. I mean,
Out of the mouths of babes.
we're all special, so doesn't that mean none of us are special?
Mhm. We're all loved.
We're all loved.
Mm-hmm.
We're all the same.
We're all loved.
Yep.
Well, isn't that?
Well, isn't that special?
Yes.
Says the church lady.
So in this one choice lies the undoing of every illusion. And is this not like your special function, where separation is undone by a change of purpose in what was once specialness and is now union? All illusions are but one. And in the recognition this is so lies the ability to give up all attempts to choose between them and to make them different. How simple is the choice between two things so clearly unalike. There is no conflict here, no sacrifices possible in the relinquishment of an illusion recognized as such. Where all reality has been withdrawn from what was never true, can it be hard to give up and choose what must be true? Well, for me,
Right.
since I'm still somewhere on the bridge,
Yes, right. Yes, it seems difficult.
it can be very hard.
It seems difficult.
It can be very difficult.
Yeah.
But what the illusion is here is that once we are across the bridge in this borderland of thought, the decision process will be much simpler. The discernment mechanism will be finely tuned, and we will be able to make these choices very quickly until there's just one gate to go through.
Right. One last choice to be made. Beautiful. Well, I'm all for simplifying my life.
Yeah, and
I'm all for that. Where life feels simpler.
And it literally wasn't until, like I said before, it literally wasn't until I was making breakfast that I remembered that this was Easter, Resurrection Day. And yet this, and because perhaps this section is really can be interpreted as being, what is it going to be like when I am in a state of resurrection?
Yeah, and in
The real world is a state of resurrection. I am being resurrected when I'm there.
right, and everybody who's ever experienced the real world, however they've experienced it, says they felt reborn. You know, it's a rebirth of, you know, you and your true self, your true nature.
And let us not, I don't want to miss the point that I believe this is an accurate assertion, that our experiences when we're doing the workbook lessons or doing the meditations and actually having experiences of a holy instant, the Course teaches us that those experiences are cumulative. I am deducing in this moment, I can't say that this is stated explicitly in the Course, but that those holy instant experiences are momentary experiences of what it's like at the gate of heaven.
That's right. Beautiful.
They are glimpses of what it's like in the real world, if not beyond.
Right. That's a
And-
beautiful description.
And so I just wanted to make that point in the hope that to make that linkage, that when you're doing the workbook lessons, doing the meditations, when you're actually experiencing a holy instant, you can now think of it as, oh, this is what it would be like if I was in the real world.
Yes.
I love that you talking about choosing what you were gonna work on today and not realizing the connection to the resurrection, and that it's like what you were saying about when a decision comes through or an idea comes through and it's like, whoa, that's it. But then wait, I better do some graphs and I better.
Well, that's what I was sharing with Anna before classes, that I was in quite a funk last night because I was very undecided about what I was going to teach today. I'd literally spent hours yesterday putting all of this list together, going, well, you know, maybe I'll get an idea here, but I just finally, I guess I'm gonna just decide in the morning.
In other words, you're gonna let spirit choose for you.
Yeah, when you just go with that trust, with that initial, whoa, this is it, then it might be a little bit later, but it becomes clear. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, this
Well,
is like totally related to how I had in mind for it to be related, and I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Exactly.
goes
Well,
with
that's
your
how it
statement-
happened for me this week.
It's trust, yeah.
Trust.
Kind of goes with your statement earlier about sometimes the decision has to wait.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do now, unless there's some more discussion about this, is you can turn to lesson 98 if you want, if you wish. It's called "I Will Accept My Part in God's Plan for Salvation," which is really an extended discussion of our special function and how we integrate that into our meditations for that day. And if you've been following along, this would have been around April 8th, just a couple weeks ago is when this would have been on your radar if you're following along from the beginning of the year, which I'm not. So if you wish, you can read along, or Anna could maybe cue up some music and I can just,
Actually, I don't, because you're using my phone,
okay,
so,
then I will just read.
okay, great.
So, follow along if you wish, or close your eyes and just listen. Today is a day of special dedication. We take a stand on but one side today. We side with truth and let illusions go. We will not vacillate between the two, but take a firm position with the one. We dedicate ourselves to truth today and to salvation as God planned it be. We will not argue it as something else. We will not seek for it where it is not. In gladness, we accept it as it is and take the part assigned to us by God. How happy to be certain. All our doubts we lay aside today and take our stand with certainty of purpose and with thanks that doubt is gone and surety has come. We have a mighty purpose to fulfill and have been given everything we need with which to reach the goal. Not one mistake stands in our way, for each one has been absolved of errors. All our sins are washed away by realizing they were but mistakes. The guiltless have no fear, for they are safe and recognize their safety. They do not appeal to magic nor invent escapes from fanciful threats without reality. The guiltless rest in quiet certainty that they will do what it is given them to do. The guiltless do not doubt their own ability because they know their function will be filled completely in the perfect time and the perfect place. The guiltless took the stand which we will take today, that we may share their certainty and thus increase it by accepting it ourselves. They will be with us. All those who took the stand we take today will gladly offer us all that they learned and every gain they made. Those still uncertain too will join with us, and borrowing our certainty will make it stronger still. While those as yet unborn will hear the call we heard and answer it when they have come to make their choice again. We do not choose, but for ourselves today. Is it not worth 5 minutes of your time each hour to be able to accept the happiness which God has given you? Is it not worth 5 minutes hourly to recognize your special function here? Is not 5 minutes but a small request to make in terms of gaining a reward so great that it has no measure? You have made 1,000 losing bargains at the least. Here is an offer guaranteeing you your full release from pain of every kind and joy the world does not contain. You can exchange a little of your time for peace of mind and certainty of purpose with the promise of complete success. And since time has no meaning, you are being asked for nothing in return for everything. Here is a bargain you cannot lose, and what you gain is limitless indeed. Each hour today, give God your tiny gift of but 5 minutes. He will give the words you use in practicing today's idea the deep conviction and the certainty you lack. His words will join with yours and make each repetition of today's idea a total dedication, made in faith, as perfect and as sure as His in you. His confidence in you will bring light to all the words you say and will go beyond their sound to what they really mean. Today you practice with Him as you say, I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you being here and online and helping me to learn this material, these ideas, and for sharing them with one another and all your great comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for teaching that, that was
And
beautiful. Yeah, that's great.
see you next time.
All right, see you next Sunday, everybody.
Check and see if there's a special save, a save, because it's still showing private.
Okay.